We welcome you back to Talk Radio. I am your host, one of the hosts, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and in studio with me we have
Minister Philip King Jr.
and
Evangelist Kelly Pantoja. Good to be with you today.
All right, today we're going to talk about the psychology of social media. It's a very interesting trend. Everybody is on it.
Yeah.
Something pops up new all the time. But I've noticed something about social media where it becomes very distracting and it pulls everyone who participates in it, even though there's no way in God's green earth you can interact with all of your friends.
Yeah. It's your own, it's someone's own reality, or it's a virtual reality. Let's put it like that. And it's very interesting because when you talk about the psychology of it, now correct me if I'm wrong, Bishop. Now we understand from Freud's model of the mind, you have the id, the ego, and the superego. Now, your id, correct me if I'm wrong, the most primitive desires of an individual.
Yes.
The ego then is what takes those desires and tries to translate them into the world, correct?
Or into common behavior.
Exactly. And so what happens is, I really do believe this, when we talk about social media, it's almost as if the ego goes out the window, because you are now able to defy the laws of the environment around you to be something that you may not be able to be in physical.
I agree with that to a point, and the reason why I say is the ego is considered to be the balancing aspect of the mind.
Yeah.
And the ego state then tries to negate all of the power of the id.
Yeah.
Because if there was no ego, according to Freud, then the id would just simply run wild.
Yeah.
If you saw something on somebody's plate, you would snatch it and eat it, regardless of where you were.
Yeah.
And then the superego is very, very ultra restrictive.
Exactly.
It doesn't allow people to do anything, and so the id is the balancing point. But I think you hit on something, that people are so lonely and people feel so bad about themselves.
Yeah.
Only when you come to a social media site can you now be important.
Yeah.
Yes.
The more friends you get, the more important
Exactly.
you are. And it's very unrealistic because, again, how many people can you talk with? I'm a type of person, we had it was an account, a social site, and we called it Apostolic World. And I tried to contact everybody on that site every week. And I found out the more members we had, it was impossible to keep track of everyone, to contact everyone, unless that's all you did 24/7. Mm-hmm. And so one of the psychological things, it brings to us an unrealistic sense of importance based upon friends.
Exactly.
Friends that you don't know, that you
right.
don't interact with, that you have never seen,
Well, see,
and probably will never see.
Right, and it's self-affirming as
there
well.
you go. There you go.
And your belief, you can, even your worldview,
Exactly.
you can hook up with people who think like you do, and people who have maybe certain characteristics that you do, and so it affirms in you what it is that you're believing, so it helps to strengthen those things, either whether it's right or whether it's wrong.
And I still think that it leans more towards the negative sense, because I see this a lot too, it may not even have to be where someone has a lot of friends. I know people that in real life that portray to be something on social media. They don't have all the friends and all the followers. They may have a solid 5 to 10 people that legitimately follow them, but in their mind, because they can put up a video of themselves, they can post a cute little duck lip picture, but they have filters where it hides the acne, it hides the blemishes. I really do believe, like Evangelist said, it is self-affirming because it extends to everyone in the world, or what you believe is the world. Because I think your account, that is relative to someone's environment. That is their world. Your account is the world that you live in. You get to establish who you follow. You get to establish who follows you. But at the end of the day, you are extending to everyone in the World Wide Web who you really want to be. And that is the piece. And I think that's still dangerous because, again, there is no balance in that because it still appeals to those things.
I think it's funny. We have 3 different generations here.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm the youngest. But we have 3 different generations here that span maybe the course of 20 years. And each of us have an experience with it. And I agree that social media can be very dangerous. It can be productive if done in the right
Exactly.
way. Because what it does, as you said, the masking and the filters, where everybody wants to be beautiful.
Exactly.
And the realistic life that we live, everybody is not anatomically beautiful.
That's right.
And so it's a world of deception, and it is a world that we can control. And the danger, the flip side of that, is just like people gravitate to you, all it takes is one rumor, one sentence,
That's right.
one post that can cause your empire to tumble, and that person's reality is then shattered.
Yeah.
That's true. And also on social media, it puts out so many images, so many images of
Excuse
what people want to be, how
Exactly.
they want to project
Exactly.
themselves. And then those images also reach younger people. And so a lot of times it's dangerous because a lot of times they feel like they have to live up to these images that are really just a facade.
Exactly.
And really, when we talk about social media, it spans so many things. And I think that has done more harm to people because society, and it's changing somewhat, but society pushes beauty. And so it's caused people, even who are young, if you don't like your teeth, get them all pulled out and
Exactly.
get some put in. If you don't like your hips, you can use injections. And so it's teaching us to value beauty over character. And so what happens, people are now enamored with what they see and not really what people are. And how they portray themselves starts to become more like a fiction novel.
Sure is.
And that fiction novel starts controlling both the old,
Yeah.
middle-aged, and the young.
Exactly.
Everybody gets trapped in that cycle of wanting the fountain of youth.
Now watch this, Bishop. I'm going to put this on the table. I would even suggest that this is also where us as believers, we have to be very strategic when we use social media, because the powers of darkness they are using this as a means to control the minds of the people, regardless of whether we want to believe it or not. It's so ingrained within our habitual process of living out our life that I believe that most of us have constructed neural pathways within our brains that we need to get on at this time. We need to look at this information. And you said something one time, because I was in the office and you were looking at some YouTube shorts, and you said, "Philip, this is a bunch of garbage." And the reality of it is, though, Bishop, although some people might find those things entertaining, the more and more you put in you of those things, the more and more you're going to be of those
And let's
things.
look at those too, because most of the successful sites,
Yes.
they specialize in running down others
Yes.
and trashing others and bringing up their misfortunes
Yep.
and all of the bad things in their life. So people are actually making a living out of the misery and
Exactly.
the hurt
Yes,
and
they
the
are.
mistakes of others. And so that's a very serious psychological thing.
It is.
Because what it's teaching us is not to be sympathetic, not to be empathetic over people's hurts,
Yes.
over people's dilemmas, over people's downfall.
It's literally making us to be inhumane.
Exactly.
And that is where I believe that's where the demonic enters into the realm of things.
And
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
and not
good.
only that, it's promoting non-compassion.
Yes.
And we know when Christ was on the earth, when he was moved with compassion
Yes,
to
yes.
do so many things, and he also talked about loving.
Exactly.
So now it's kind of destroying the compassion out of the earth, the compassion for other people that God had, and that we are a reflection of who He is.
Exactly.
And if we love one another,
Exactly.
and so it's taking all of the compassion and it's squashing it, and
Exactly.
it's now we become self-motivated.
There you go. And
to-
then that brings me to the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. It literally is sin on steroids.
and right, and we as believers have to be careful not to be pulled into that aspect of it, because
It's easy.
if you're looking at these people who put up all these facades and all these filters
Yeah.
and looking at beautiful, we have to be very careful, but that we're not pulled into that and then examining
That's
the way
right.
that we look.
That's right.
And feeling that we don't meet or come up to par
Exactly.
with all of those things.
Don't you all find it very interesting that people who are just normal people can now become what they call influencers?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
draw millions of people and actually earn a living off of being an influencer. So when we talk about influencer, that means moving the mind and the hearts of
Yes,
people
yes.
without force.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so the question is, what are most of the influencers influencing people to do?
Or yes. Well, I was going to say as a question too. What are they influenced by?
That's then why we were on that same
Okay,
thought. That's influencing the influencer to influence the people who are being influenced. So
Exactly.
we can look and we can see the enemy at play.
Now, I'm not going to say all of it is bad,
Of
because
course.
there are some people that have some wholesome things.
Of course.
Yes.
I've seen people that have cooking shows. People
Yes, yes.
show you how to put on makeup if that's your thing.
That's right.
People show you how to make things with your hands.
Tie a
and
tie.
musicians. But I've seen so much that is detrimental.
Yes.
Where we become, I don't know if you all remember Rona Barrett. She was the gossip columnist years ago.
Wow.
And all she did was got on TV and she just ran down what the stars were doing. Kind of like an
Wendy
older
Williams.
Wendy Williams, yes.
Wendy
Where
Williams.
they exposed what they called the tea of everyone. And so I think we have to be very careful, because I noticed that in this world of social media, people spend so much time there.
Yeah.
It's not enough to be able to instant message. Now you can call.
Exactly.
Now you can spend. I get so many messages telling me to call them.
Yeah.
And I'm scratching my head, because I'm trying to figure out, where do they get the time?
That's what I'm saying, Bishop. I load up. I'm very active on social media. I try to post some of our talk radios, as Evangelist has said. You know, I do my yes, but so many people, and then you find also, because I do digital marketing within my business and as a trade, it's so interesting, because then you can be so strategic in how you implement your socials, because you can set it to where it can be at specific regions.
Yeah.
So now the information, the mess, can be targeted to specific places at specific times based upon how much you are on your technological device.
And so the psychology then is, we have the capacity to create a world.
Yeah.
And in this world, as you said, we become self-affirming, self-confirming.
Yeah.
And so it's a way that most people try to hide their fear, their insecurities, and they develop this self-medication where they become now important because what they are creating can earn them money and draw people to them that they try to advise, even though they may still be hurting and insecure.
Can I have a question to the panel?
Yes.
Could that be a form of idolatry?
Oh, but most definitely a form of self-idolatry.
Yes.
Because I notice in many of the things that I watch, sometimes I'll get on YouTube. I may pick a day out of the week or maybe two just to peruse it. And I am shocked at how many people feel they are God's gift to the earth.
Yes, sir.
And it's almost they worship themselves.
Exactly.
And one particular view I looked at, an individual said, well, I know I'm this stuff.
Exactly.
I know all men want me. And I'm saying, what is this developing in the hearts and the minds of men where we start worshiping ourselves?
It's almost Luciferian.
I think we could go beyond that most.
Yeah.
Because it is
Yeah.
creating
Yeah.
a battleground
Yes.
for love of self
Exactly.
and the opposition against God and all that's
And I got one last point. I know we're running out of time, but also what it does is it impedes on our communication, and not just with each other, but with the Lord himself, because we feel as if we deserve to have an instantaneous response, or a response that is dictated based upon how we want it. And that's not reality.
And really it becomes a trap
Exactly.
because we realize that some things we want, we might lose viewers. And so
There
we
you
start
go.
catering our life and catering all of our actions and values based upon what you think the audience wants to hear.
Now, well, couldn't that even translate now to a lot of pastors in the churches? Because now, one thing that they try to do, sometimes I believe, like the Bible says, that people will heap upon themselves because ministers,
Yes.
because people with itching ears that want their ears to be scratched.
Yeah.
So now, the people that are in place are catering to the people.
And I think we have to be very careful about that because it's causing the gospel message to be softened.
Exactly.
It's taking the reality of the standard of God out of the earth. And we have just a few seconds, so we're going to have to wrap it up here. I thank you all for being with us.
Yes.
This is Talk Radio. I am your host, one of the hosts, Bishop Dr. Terry K. Reeves.
And I'm Kelly Pantoja.
And I'm Mr. Philip King Jr.
And we thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share.
That's right.
God bless you. Until the next time.